It's 9:05 and it's time to call the ZOAC meeting in order.
Okay.
Sarah, would you like to take roll, please?
I would love to. Ms. Blair, Commissioner Blair, Commissioner Rubin,
Here.
Mr. Barrett. My goodness. Okay, and we have Mr. Barry.
Hear you.
Ms. McGregor,
Here.
Mr. Reeves.
Here, good morning.
Right, and you know that Commissioner Housewright is absent today, so we have a quorum.
Thank you. And the first thing we would need to take care of is because our chair Housewright is not here. I'm just stepping in as in his place, and we would need to appoint a vice chair. And the person available right now is Vice Chair Rubin. I would make the recommendation that he is the vice chair for ZOAC for today. Can I get a second? Please. Oh, well, anybody can second it.
I'll second it.
Thank you. With that being, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so very much. So we have a quorum and we're ready to do business today. And Ms. Mays, would you like to read into the record our item for today?
Okay, DCA 223008 is consideration of amending the notice requirements for zoning changes and code amendments that may result in the creation of a non-conforming use and the requirements for initiating and conducting a Board of Adjustment hearing to establish a compliance date in the Dallas Development Code. And I think we have Mr. Burgess here from the City Attorney's Office that was going to do the briefing.
Have just a very short presentation for you guys. So as y'all are aware, Texas legislature recently met. There were a number of bills that were approved by the legislature, and there are several of those that are going to affect the development code. So we're going to be bringing a few ordinances to you guys here over the coming weeks to make those amendments. This is the first one you're going to be seeing. This one deals with SB 929. So that's a bill that does a couple of things. The first thing that it does is it changes how we do notice for a potential zoning change or code amendment that would have the potential to create a non-conforming use. So in addition to the regular notice that we do, that we also have to provide notice to all of the tenants and occupants in the area as well, letting them know that the proposed change may make them non-conforming. The second thing that the bill does is it does away with the amortization process as it has been in Texas for decades. And I'll just read a little bit from the bill analysis here. It says that the amortization process goes against Texas longstanding tradition of job creation and respect for property rights. And when a city has a compelling need to deprive landowners of the useful enjoyment of their properties, it should be required, as in the cases of eminent domain, that it offer financial compensation at fair market value. Amortization hurts Texas businesses from small auto repair shops to factories employing hundreds of Texans. So they essentially wiped out our old process. They put a new process in place that is, again, kind of a bifurcated hearing like it is now. You have the first hearing where the board would hear all the evidence, make a determination whether continued operation of the non-conforming use would have an adverse impact on neighboring properties. But under the old system, if they made that finding, they would come back, they would do a second hearing, look at the financials for the business, and make a determination based on those financials, how long the business needed to amortize out their investment in the business prior to it becoming non-conforming. The new bill does away with that. It says that you have to calculate costs incurred by the owner or lessee that are directly attributable to ceasing non-conforming use of the property, including expenses relating to demolition, relocation, termination of a lease, or discharge of a mortgage and an amount equal to the greater of as determined by the board diminution in market value of the property computed by subtracting the current market value of the property after the imposition of the requirement to stop the non-conforming use of the property from one, the market value of the property on the day before notice is given, or the market value of the property on the day that the BDA hearing is authorized. And then it gives the property owner or operator the option of either choosing to receive a payment from the city for that amount that's calculated and shutting down within 2 days, or continuing to operate until they've recovered that money. And I think probably the controversial piece of this one is that the proposal removes the ability for a resident to make an application for that. And the reason for that is under the new system, it's really treated as eminent domain, not an amortization. Really, only city council can authorize eminent domain. Right. I cannot go and file an eminent domain case against your property. That would take city council. So that is SB 939 in the code amendment in a nutshell.
Thank you. Question? Vice Chair?
Starting off with just a couple of background questions. My understanding is this was a CAO initiated proposed zoning amendment, right?
Correct. Yeah, we always put the ordinances together to bring us into compliance with new state law.
Okay. But other proposed zoning amendments are initiated, could be initiated by PUD staff or someone else. This was the CAO's
Correct
decision. Okay. I'm having trouble understanding the elimination of the ability of property owners and residents to initiate the a compliance date for non-conforming uses. I've read SB 929. Is that requirement anywhere directly in SB 929?
No, it's not.
Okay. So help me understand how the CAO got to the conclusion that it would be inappropriate moving forward for residents or property owners to initiate the compliance process.
Okay, so under the old process, it was an amortization process. So the board would look at the investment in the property and allow that business to continue operating until they had basically made that money back. Under this new process, it's a lot more akin to eminent domain. This could put taxpayer funds at significant risk. So a case, if someone brings a successful case on this, the city could be having to write a check for millions of dollars. So in that case, we're going to be putting that type of taxpayer money at risk. The thought is that should be city council making that application, making that decision.
Was there any thought to structuring this in a potentially different way that retain, a resident or a property owner's ability to, initiate the compliance process, but given, as you said, it puts, city dollars in play, allow it to be initiated by the public, but then take it up through the process as opposed to just eliminating, a resident's ability to initiate the process.
If we go through the process, the board makes a finding that continued operation of the use would have a detrimental effect. That would require them to basically pay out the business, pay them to go away.
And right now, that decision is made currently by Board of Adjustment. Does it get appealed to City Council?
No. And again, this is a completely different process. The city doesn't pay anyone to go away under the current process. That's what the new process would require.
I'm just trying to figure out, it seems to be a drastic change that we would eliminate the right of a resident to seek a compliance date for a non-conforming use. So I'm trying to figure out if there are other solutions here besides just eliminating it. For example, that first, piece of the process where the Board of Adjustment decides that this I don't have the language at hand, but it's a detrimental use and needs to go into amortization, that's a final decision of the Board of Adjustment right now, right?
Correct.
And theoretically, you know, how certain things done by boards and commissions go to city council, that initial decision could also go up to city council, right?
No,
Is this, help me understand.
no Board of Adjustment decisions are appealable to city council. They would be appealed directly to district court under state law.
And is that chapter 211?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, just chapter two, and I guess, you know, one, you know, we could phrase it as an appeal to district court. Does chapter 211 not, you know, allow Board of Adjustment decisions to get a second level of blessing by the governing body of the municipality?
No. Board of Adjustment is a completely independent body under state law.
You may have additional questions, but that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Mr. Reeves.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate where Commissioner Rubin was going on that, and I just have a couple kind of follow-up questions. So how does this get on City Council's agenda? What's required?
So we would have to go through the process like any other development code amendment. It would start with you guys. Once you guys move it on, it moves up to CPC. Then once CPC moves it on, it goes to City Council.
So a determination for non-compliance would come to ZOAC?
Oh, a determination for non-compliance? No, that is a Board of Adjustment. So that does not go to City Council at all.
Right, but we're stating that City Council needs to initiate this process. How does City Council initiate that process? How does it get on their agenda to vote one way or the other?
Oh, okay. So currently they can do a 5-signature memorandum and ask the mayor to put it on. Then they will vote, do a resolution, send it over to Board of Adjustment. Or in the alternative, you know, it could be initiated by a City Council committee as well. Go to City Council for a vote that way too.
So for a regular zoning change, we need 3 signatures on a petition, whether it's coming from CPC or whether it's from City Council, correct?
If it's a City Council thing, that would be a 5-signature memo to authorize a public hearing for a zoning change.
But CPC only needs 3.
Correct.
Okay, so would it be possible that it took 3, because this is kind of zoning, obviously it's at ZOAC here, that CPC with 3 signatures could also get this on City Council's agenda?
That's the recommendation of CPC and City Council to add that to the ordinance. You could certainly do that.
Because it would, in my opinion, that might add another check and balance there, because if a certain, you know, because City Council sometimes doesn't want to, quote unquote, as our chair used to tell me, I'm going to fish in your pond, Mark. They might not want to fish in another council member's pond, but it's a little bit less political on CPC. So those 3 signatures to kind of force that public hearing might be something to consider. Anyway, so the other thing really quick, on page 12 of our docket on section O, it says this section does not apply to a non-conforming use that has been intentionally abandoned for at least 6 months. I did not see that in our ordinance. Does it need to be in our ordinance as well?
Oh, that is already in the Dallas Development Code. So if a use has been abandoned for 6 months or more, that automatically goes away. So
Okay.
So the Board of Adjustment process wouldn't apply to them.
Okay, so we don't need to state that there. Okay, so
Correct.
the other thing is, how is market value determined? And what if there's a disagreement on that market value?
So I'm going to read just directly from the bill here.
Yeah, I read the bill too. It doesn't tell me
Okay.
what value is.
Yeah, so you know, they would he would make the determination based on the bill. I would imagine that you would probably get a couple of numbers. That's typically the way it works at Board of Adjustment now. So the property owner would come in, they would bring their numbers. The city typically hires an accountant that analyzes all the stuff too, and they come up with some numbers. And then under the current system, the Board of Adjustment would make a decision based on all of that information. So I'm imagining it would likely work in a similar way, but under the bill, it would be a staff reviewing that, not the board. And then if the parties don't agree with staff's determination, they can appeal that back to Board of Adjustment for determination.
So since the state law is very vague, is that something that we should specify in this ordinance?
If you guys have some ideas for things that we could add in there to fill in those blanks, if you think there's some vagueness in there, that's something that we could certainly look at doing.
Okay, and my last question, if we could potentially get 3 votes or 3 signed signatures on CPC to bring this to council, could we also get 3 at city council as well instead of 5?
That would actually require a change to the rules of procedure. So that wouldn't be a code amendment thing. That would be just them changing their rules to do that.
So it could, that would just have to happen before
Correct.
we can do it. Okay, all right, I've confused myself enough now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any, first round, any other questions?
Thank you, Chair Blair. A few additional questions that I think came up while Mr. Reeves was speaking. We're not the only municipality in the state dealing with implementing SB 929, right?
Yeah, it seems like the main thing that's affecting a lot of the other municipalities is the notice piece. So I was at a conference last week, spoke to colleagues at a lot of other cities. And just from what I found, it seems like we may be one of the few cities in Texas that have this process built into our code. So I don't know that a whole lot of other cities are dealing with the Board of Adjustment piece like we are.
I think it might be very helpful to learn what other cities in the state of Texas have a similar, resident-initiated compliance process and figure out how those municipalities are dealing with this issue. And I assume you don't have that at hand today, right?
Do not have that at hand.
Okay.
I think that's definitely something we can research
Okay.
and like us to.
That would be great if we don't take action on this today, or if it goes to CPC, before CPC, but we'll see what the body does. The other piece that I wanted to see, following up on Mr. Reeves' line of questioning is, you mentioned that you could, add to this portion of the code to also allow the Plan Commission to implement, or to initiate the compliance process, right?
Right.
Would there also be a way to, I understand that it's important, that the chair of the body, have, say over the agenda and that sort of thing. And I know we generally don't have, well, there are ways that the public can get certain things before a body. I'm just thinking of the example of SUP auto renewals. If you get 20% of signatures of surrounding property owners, it gets kicked out of the auto renewal process and goes on the CPC's agenda for approval, right?
Mhm.
Is there a way that if a certain number of signatures were to be collected from, residents, citizens of, the surrounding areas based on some other criteria, that a compliance request could be set on the agenda of the CPC or the city council?
If that's something you guys would like to explore, we could look at doing that.
I'm just one person, but that would be very interesting to me to explore. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Reeves, Mr. McGregor, Barrett, Mr. Barry, Mr. Reeves.
Yes, I just wanted to say I liked Commissioner Rubin's uh, going down that path too. Just ways to make sure that the public can get involved with this. It still has to go to the Board of Adjustment, so the city could certainly argue their case if they disagreed, and or the applicant could. But again, just opening up for a more transparent process where someone just couldn't, kind of bury it on the side, and the public never gets to weigh in. So thank you.
Can I ask the public, please, to refrain from any outwardly expressed opinions at this moment, please? Thank you. I do have a couple of questions. Periodically, we do see at CPC things that have gone to Board of Adjustments come to us for determinations. Is there a reason why the way this is written that process does not seem to lend itself to going through the process that we see today?
Right. So yeah, all of the appeals, the applications that go to the Board of Adjustment, they're an independent body. They're quasi judicial. They make a decision, and then if it goes anywhere after that, it goes up to district court. So that's the way it's laid out in the local government code.
So then, can you explain to me how this, if what you're saying is when things go to Board of Adjustments, it goes through this, and we all know that Board of Adjustments, quasi-judicial, that it does not, from what you're saying, it does not seem to lend itself for things to come to CPC.
Right.
But I see things at CPC on a regular basis. So can you explain how things have gone from Board of Adjustments and then it comes to CPC for a second look, and this process does not lend itself, or what you're saying, it does not lend itself to get to us, but it does.
So if you're seeing things at CBC, those would probably be issues where they're needing more than just something Board of Adjustment can grant them. So like they may get a front yard variance, but they may also need potentially zoning changes as well. So that, you guys wouldn't be dealing with the variance piece, you guys would be dealing with the zoning. So those are two separate things.
So are you saying with Senate Bill 929 that this is a land use? I'm struggling with is the interpretation of 929 and the way that it is, the suggestions in the writing of our new code. It does not seem to provide the ability for a complete and thorough process. It's either Board of Adjustments and staff, and then City Council, and no other process. Do you know of another municipality that operates like that? And with Senate Bill 929?
Yeah, that's the way that everyone would operate. Yeah, this is a Board of Adjustment function. It's not a CBC or City Council function. So you're not doing this wouldn't be a zoning hearing to determine proper zoning on the property. This would be an administrative hearing to determine whether or not the building needs to be permitted. I think this is something that's on the back end that would not go to CPC or City Council.
Okay, I think that's all I have for the moment. We have members here that we have an audience, and we also have members that have signed up to speak. What I would like to do now is to take questions from our members who are from the public that has signed up to speak, and then I will take questions from the audience that is here. Thank you. Comments? comments from those that are, who signed up, and then comments from the audience. I am going to say this up front. This is about, we're speaking and our comments are strictly for Senate Bill 929. We're not talking about any zoning cases that are in process or going to be in process. I have been asked to remind us that we're only discussing Senate Bill 929 this morning, okay? With that being said, everybody will have 3 minutes to speak. We have, Ms. May, we have 21 members. And I'm going to, with 3 minutes, can you keep our members? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up the first 5 people that are on the list. And I do know that some of them are in the audience, although they have signed up to speak. So if they are in the audience, you will then be given the opportunity to come up and speak at that particular time. So our first 5 members will be, and can you tell me if they are also online? David Henley, Laura Quintero Chavez, Evelyn Mayo, Christine Hopkins, and Stephanie Champion. Do you have those online? I know Miss Mayo is here. And did any other names that I call, are they, okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 members that are in the audience that have signed up. So is David Henley in the audience? Okay, Mr. Henley, you're first, then Laura Chavez. Okay, and I know Miss Mayo, and then Christine Hopkins, and Stephanie Champion. Is Stephanie Champion online? Okay, so we're gonna go in that order. And the first person will be David Henley. And you will have 3 minutes. Can you do me a favor and make sure that mic is on so the members and online can hear you?
Okay, there
Thank
we
you
go.
very
Now the
much.
light's on. I got you. I'm Dave Henley. I live at 5232 Monetta Lane in Dallas. First, I want to say Senate Bill 929 is an unwarranted intrusion by the state of Texas into the affairs of the city of Dallas. It obviously is going to limit options and tools that the city already has and has used quite effectively. And it's limiting things for the citizens as well. I understand the state's rationale for reimbursing a business owner who's being asked to bring his business into compliance with any zoning changes. And the mechanism for establishing fair value probably works for most businesses, but I think you're going to start running into problems when you have a larger publicly traded corporation. The larger the corporation and the more closely held their information is, the more difficult it becomes to get the information that the city really needs to establish what a good fair market price is. And it really puts it in another realm. That makes it really expensive. And I know the way the city operates, you got to make decisions about what to do based on getting a good idea of your cost up front. So the bigger the corporation is going to be, the harder it's going to be to get that. And so effectively, it's going to put the large corporations up in a class where they're untouchable. That's my big beef with 929. Also, basically, by pushing it down to the cities, I think the legislature's handed you a poison pill because they're making you guys the bad guys. The citizens are looking for a change to happen. The state's gonna say, well, it's the city's responsibility now to get that stuff done. And when it doesn't happen, you guys are holding the bag. Long ago, I served in the Navy, and I participated in the evacuation of Saigon way back in 1975. We got a lot of people out of Vietnam who desperately wanted to get to America because we have a much higher degree of freedom than most people in the world. We're so blessed.
I'm sorry, that's your time.
It's very important to me to preserve our citizens' rights here. So, anyway, please do your utmost to preserve your citizens' rights here. So, thanks for listening to this grumpy old sailor, and thanks for caring enough for this city to serve. All right, bye.
Good morning. My name is Laura Quintero Chavez, 330 Linwood Drive in Duncanville. As decision makers that have been appointed to this committee, other boards, commissions, and elected seats, do you understand the impact of your role? Do you understand that your role is to serve the City of Dallas residents and that you are to protect the well-being of these residents? Complying with the Senate bill and removing the right of City of Dallas residents to petition for amortization not only hinders the opportunity for residents to protect their neighborhoods from corporate greed and environmental injustices, it violates their civil rights. So how does deleting this process benefit city residents? Who is benefiting from the deletion of this process? We already have a state law that makes it harder for cities to carry out amortization processes. But most of us already know that the state does not protect the civil rights of Black and Brown communities. We have a mayor that's flip-flopping parties and elected officials flip-flopping on their word and protecting the livelihood of corporations headquartered in New Jersey. Unfortunately, we do not have elected officials and decision makers that are courageous enough to stand up with the community and fight against corporate greed and protect the rights of Black and Brown residents. If these elected officials are not brave enough to protect the well-being of Black and Brown communities and are not willing to follow the big audacious goals from the racial equity plan they voted for, let city residents exercise their civil rights to protect their communities from harmful toxic polluters. Your decision today not only impacts the environmental justice movement today, it will hinder the rights of all residents to protect their communities from injustices and malpractices and allow for a more harmful living environment. To end, I have a quote that I hope helps you make a decision that protects the well-being of Dallas residents and allows for residents the right to use amortization processes to protect their communities from harm. I'll say it in Spanish and I'll loosely translate it in English. La tierra no se vende, se ama y se defiende. The land is not for sale, it is meant to be loved and defended. Thank you.
Once again, I'm going to ask that you guys please refrain from outwardly expressing your opinions. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Evelyn Mayo, 7732 Village Trail Drive, Dallas, Texas 75254, and I'm the co-chair of the Board of Downwinders at Risk, a clean air and environmental justice nonprofit based in Dallas. I'm here to speak in opposition to the proposed amendment to the code, specifically the section repealing the right of Dallas residents to file for amortization against a non-conforming land use that is causing adverse impact on their community. The Senate bill that passed in May of this year, which has triggered this whole code update, was the result of lobbying of GAF and others. It specifically quotes a city threatened to drive a roofing materials factory that employs 150 workers from their property without any compensation after the factory had been in operation for more than 80 years. This is clearly referencing GAF, but is untrue in its characterization of what amortization is. The process is meant to be the fair arbitration by the Board of Adjustment to determine appropriate closure time based on the company recouping the investment they've made. In this factory's case, they've been operating since the 40s in West Dallas and have been non-conforming since 1987. Despite there being complaints lodged against the factory dating back to the 60s, to negotiate, and the city councilmen and commissioners urged them to go along. It was clear they were against amortization and sought negotiation on GAF's terms. 2 years have been wasted in disingenuous discussion, while GAF proceeded to lobby the city and state to change the laws to prevent us from exercising our right. Last week, Janie Cisneros, who represents the residents living next to the factory in their neighborhood association, tried to file for amortization to the Board of Adjustment, but was turned away. They told her that to file with the city attorney or the city councilman, so we attempted both of them too and were turned away. The city is breaking their own code right now by failing to accept the application. We have this right today, and we're here fighting to keep that right for generations. The city has not and is now refusing to pursue amortization against GAF, despite the overwhelming evidence that the factory is causing adverse impact to public health. Residents are having to fend for ourselves, and now the city is even trying to preempt that. It's disturbing and demonstrates the pattern of environmental racism for which the city is currently being investigated by HUD. Please oppose this change that targets Black and Brown communities who have been systematically discriminated against by the city of Dallas for generations. Shame on the city attorney for running away from residents and turning your back on your duty.
Good morning. My name is Christine Hopkins. I live in District 1. I'm a member of the West Oak Cliff Coalition and a coalition of the Neighborhood for Self-Determination, and I'm here to speak in opposition to the amendment that would take away residents' rights to start the process. There is still a process that has to be followed. The Board of Adjustment is still a check and balance. I'd like to speak a little bit from my personal and professional life. I am an attorney. I practice in the field of employment discrimination, trying to protect employees. And it's not foreign to me that a higher level of government would try to throw some obstacles in my path to pursuing what's right and just. And here in the city of Dallas with SB 929, there are some obstacles that have been thrown in the path to pursuing what's right and just in terms of shutting down polluters that are non-conforming uses in Black and Brown communities. But our job as attorneys is to still achieve the just and right goal, rather than to take away a right entirely and just throw up our hands and give in. So here, the residents can keep their rights, and the city attorneys can support residents and communities of color by navigating the new law to the best of their ability, by getting clear and convincing evidence that the cost for these operations to shut down is not that great, by gathering clear and convincing evidence that the diminution in their market value is not that great. Or it's a little bit confusing to me because I don't think even a payment is required. There is a section 211.019 D2 says that in lieu of a payment, the operation can continue until such time as they have recouped whatever their loss would be. So it seems very similar to the current process that there is an alternative, and I hope there would be some questions asked about that. But it's very important that in the city of Dallas, we don't take a tool out of the racial equity toolkit that residents have to come to the city, and that we give the residents a process. So I would ask you to keep a resident's right in place to start the amortization process, and for the city council to look at ways to support communities of color in shutting down polluters once that process is started, and to minimize the cost to the city, and to, at the Board of Adjustment level, use that as our check and balance on the process, and where the city can present any views that it needs to present. Thank you.
So our next speaker is online.
Ms. Champion?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you. Thank you.
Great. Good morning. My name is Stephanie Champion. I live at 1842 McBroom Street, Dallas, Texas 75212. I also serve as the Chief Community Development and Policy Officer for Builders of Hope CDC, a West Dallas-based nonprofit affordable housing and community development organization. In addition to building and preserving affordable housing, we aim to cultivate strong, thriving neighborhoods where residents have the right to self-determination and a meaningful role in shaping the future of their communities. In partnership with the greater West Dallas community, we are leading out the West Dallas Community Vision Plan, a comprehensive vision of community-centered priorities and goals for all of West Dallas. This includes our environmental justice goals of redressing environmental overburden in West Dallas neighborhoods and removing and rezoning existing incompatible industrial uses that are adjacent to residences, schools, and community centers. If you are not familiar with West Dallas, let me tell you that we have the highest concentration of industrial adjacency of any neighborhood in the city. I'm here in opposition to the proposed change that would remove a citizen's right to file a petition for establishing a compliance date for nonconforming uses. For decades, this right has been a powerful land use accountability tool used to protect the health and safety of residents living in close proximity to harmful and noxious uses. Taking this right away is a direct threat to neighborhood self-determination in West Dallas and across the city. I understand that staff is proposing various changes to the ordinance in order to comply with recent state law, but state law is silent on this issue and says nothing about removing a citizen's private right to file. This is not a taking, as is alleged by staff. This is not eminent domain. This is a land use accountability tool that deals with the city's police power to protect the health and safety of neighborhoods. The fact that staff would recommend this additional infringement that goes beyond the scope of state law is appalling, and it flies in the face of CCAP and Forward Dallas and the Racial Equity Plan and all of the forward-thinking progressive policies the city adopts and then conveniently forgets to uphold when it's time to act. This is a shameful, sneaky political move to take power away from residents and neighborhoods, and the people of Dallas will not stand for it. I hope neither will this body. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next five people will be Norma Perez. Is she online? Was she here? Norma online? Ronnie Mastus. No. Cindy Hua. Okay. And then Raul Reyes. Okay. He's online? Okay. And then Jenny Cisnero. Okay. Then okay. If you'll notice that Ms. May put some yellow cards out. If you have spoken or if you're going to speak, we would like to have a record of your attendance today. If you will be so kind as to fill out one of those cards and leave it back on the table, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And the first person up will be, I guess, Cindy Hua. Did I, and I apologize if I say your name wrong. Just let me say that up front.
Ms. Hu, are you able to unmute yourself?
Miss Hu, is it Hua? If you can hit your mute button, unmute, and see if that will give you the opportunity to unmute. Yes, we'll go, while we're working on that, we'll go to Mr. Reyes. Mr. Reyes available?
Mr. Reyes, are you able to unmute yourself? No, we can't hear you yet.
Oh, while we're working on those two, Mrs. Cisneros.
My name is Janie Cisneros. I live at 2821 Bedford Street, Dallas, Texas 75212. What are we doing, Dallas? You have a neighborhood, my neighborhood, fighting with all its might for residential rights, and here you are redlining one. The new bill doesn't require you to do so. Why would you remove a powerful tool that residents could leverage to help our communities thrive, to take action, to protect our families from harm? Don't get it twisted. Residents living next to harmful non-conforming uses know about costs. People in West Dallas have paid a hefty price for generations. We've paid with deteriorating health, medical bills, emergency room visits, shorter lives. Generations in West Dallas have paid a price. There are lifetime costs that we have incurred. You'd rather us start with the city council person for amortization. If the city council person is not aligned or willing to fight for his constituents, residents are left to fend for themselves, as is the case with Singleton United Unidos. We are already living that situation now, and that is why we are here to adamantly oppose the redlining of a resident's right to file. What is more insulting is that these code changes haven't been approved yet, and the city is already blocking you from filing for amortization of GAF. You are violating your own code, you are violating your own process. What faith or trust can residents in the city of Dallas have in you when you interfere with the democratic process that is meant to inspire civic engagement? Please listen to what is being said today. Don't eliminate a resident's right to file.
Can we go back to Ms. Ewa or Mr. Reyes? Can we get either one of those? Can either one of them unmute? Can I make the suggestion? Can they hear me? Can they hear me? Okay, if you guys will disconnect and come back in, make sure that when you're signing back on that that the piece that says your mic, you can unmute it, and I will check back with you guys in the next set of 5. So our next set of 5 will be Caleb Roberts. Is he online? Jim Schirnbeck. Okay, thank you. And James Perkins. Only thing it says is Rodriguez. Okay, thank you. And Marsha Jackson. Is Marsha Jackson online? Okay, thank you.
I also have a James Perkins.
Okay, thank you. So we will go to Jim. You're up next.
Jim Schirnbeck, Downwinders at Risk, 1808 Southwood Latimer, Dallas, Texas 75226. Most of you on this board are experienced in city government, and you are right to be incredulous at this request. Do you see what is going on here? A hastily passed law that didn't even wait until September to be signed because they knew of the threat that these citizens posed. They had to sign it in February. And now a hastily written Dallas ordinance that seeks not to enhance public participation, but diminish it and stifle it completely. It's a rush job to kill the resistance in this neighborhood that's seeking amortization, despite the evidence that supports that case. And the city attorney is clearly now on GAF's side in this matter, just by the language that they've introduced. There's no mention of eminent domain in this language in the bill. That is gratuitous. There are no costs borne by the city until the case for amortization is made by the citizens themselves if they wish to. There's no upfront cost to having this provision stay in the city ordinance right now to provide a check and balance on council people who are ignoring their own residents, on planning commissioners who are ignoring their own residents, on environmental commissioners who are ignoring their own residents. Residents stand as the last check and balance, and now the city attorney wants to pile on and make it impossible for these residents to use that tool. A $1,000 check is the ultimate check and balance against frivolous use of this tool. City Hall has its own plans about this plan, in case you haven't heard. They want to let it continue to operate for the rest of the decade, and that's exactly what this provision will allow. And that is the intent of this provision. I have not seen the city attorney in quite some time, but I remember her from a decade ago. And at that point, she actively, it's a matter of public record, she actively strived to stifle public participation in the gas drilling process and to actually change the gas drilling zoning ordinance. She was not successful in that effort to stifle public participation then. Please do not let her be successful in this regard either. They are not asking you to resolve all the obstacles. That shows it does not cost as much and will not take as much time to close GAF as the city is proposing right now. Instead of waiting till the end of the decade, you can close this in 2 years and pay for it a lot sooner. Please give them the chance to introduce this evidence in an open and transparent forum. Do not become a co-conspirator in this attempt to silence residents of Dallas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go to our next one, we lost video feed, so pause for a minute.
Okay, I think right now, since we lost video feed, let's take a 5-minute break. Thank you.
Mic test. Mic check.
Order?
The video is not on.
Hmm?
Our video is not.
Yep. What are you saying again, Mr.
Yeah,
McGregor?
this is Enrique McGregor. The video is not on.
So they can't see us.
Right.
And you can't see us. We don't have the ability to turn on our own video cameras.
Oh, okay, so we're having a problem with video now. We
We're-
can't, they
we're in.
can't see us and we can't be seen.
We're probably in as a guest.
Oh. No, can we please now go back on the record? We're recording. Mr. Steinbeck, could you please repeat your testimony?
As best I can.
Thank you.
Jim Schoenbeck, Downwinders at Risk, 1808 South Good Latimer, Dallas, Texas, 75226. Many of you are City Hall veterans, and you can see what's going on here. A hastily written state law, followed by a hastily written Dallas ordinance, all to respond to this woman and her neighbor. She doesn't look very scary, but she's managed to scare a Fortune 500 company, the city of Dallas, the state legislature, and several other entities, all without doing much but raising really good questions and doing the research that anybody should do about the facility that they're living next to. The purpose of this particular language that we're objecting to is not to enhance and encourage public participation, but to stifle it entirely. It's to squelch it. It's part of an effort by the city of Dallas, now a very orchestrated effort, to kill any attempt to amortize GAF that's remaining out there. They're trying to do this through the state law. It's obvious, but it doesn't do it to the extent that the city attorney is proposing. There's no language for eminent domain in this state law. That is a red herring that's thrown in now to justify the exercisation of this basic right that is enjoyed right now. There is no cost borne to the city by a finding that it deserves to be amortized in a case or a building or owner or manufacturer or business deserves to be amortized. All the costs are in the back end. What citizens are asking for is an open and transparent forum to bring their case to a third party in an objective way. These folks have even researched a report that says it does not take as long or as much money to amortize GAF now, even with the new law, as GAF is claiming. You need a forum to test the company's claim. You need a forum to test the city's reluctance and lack of evidence. You need a check and balance on the system that only citizen participation provides. I know the city attorney, the current city attorney, through our experience 10 years ago, through the gas drilling fight that went on in this city. And it's a matter of public record that the city attorney, current city attorney, tried to subvert the gas drilling ordinance that was being passed and would ultimately be passed by the council. She did not want to see public participation enhanced. She did not want that ordinance to pass. Now that effort failed, thank God, and Dallas is better for it. Do not let her succeed in stifling public participation here. Do not become a co-conspirator in this effort to shut down this neighborhood and the only tool they have left. There is no harm done to the city of Dallas obeying the state ordinance, minus the language that excises the prohibition on citizen participation and petitioning. Please give the neighborhood a chance to redeem itself and prove its case in an open and transparent forum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're quite welcome, Mr. McGregor. Did we ever get Cindy or Raul? Ms. Tua, am I saying that correct?
Yes, it's Cindy Hua.
Okay, we can now see you and hear you.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. So Cindy Hua, 718 Crested Cove Drive, Garland, 75040. I'm here representing Downwinders at Risk, a clean air environmental justice nonprofit based here in Dallas. And I'm here to express opposition to the proposed code change under consideration regarding the amortization or scheduled closure of non-conforming uses. It's a right that we should not take lightly, and it's crucial that we preserve amortization and that the city of Dallas also makes a motion to preserve it, not remove it. Amortization has proven to be a valuable tool used by residents across the nation to remove establishments that pose a threat to their communities. Liquor stores, high crime businesses, and dangerous factories like lead smelters have all been rightfully targeted through this mechanism. It empowers the people to safeguard our homes, families, and the well-being of our neighborhood. However, these recent developments have raised concerns. The proposed amendment raises questions about whether they'll let neighborhoods down when they are in need. This is why it's crucial for us to have the right to take matters into our own hands when it comes to safeguarding our communities. The new state law does not mention anything about removing residents' right to file for amortization. The right to raise our voices and take action when necessary is a democratic value that should not be taken away. The city should uphold and protect civil rights, not take them away. This proposed amendment sets a dangerous precedent for any major city in Texas. Amortization has been a powerful tool in protecting neighborhood self-determination, and we must ensure that it remains accessible to residents who need it. Let residents make the case to the city in an open and transparent forum through amortization. Let us maintain a system of accountability in our city and protect our rights to have decision-making power within our communities. I ask this panel to please listen to the voices of concerned residents of Dallas and lead with courage of the residents' concerns when moving forward. Thank you so much.
Mr. Raul Reyes.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. My name is Raul Reyes. I reside in 815 Morris, Los Altos in District 6, West Dallas. I am here to oppose the City Attorney's Office proposed amendment and what you guys are probably considering. But I'm also here to give voice to my neighbors and support our fence line community that's currently dealing with the GAF situation. Many of my neighbors are concerned about our neighborhood's future. Residents have had the right to request for amortization. And it's not just a tool, but it's also a testament to our democracy, giving residents a voice against incompatible changes in their community. Now consider the implications of potentially removing this right. Think of the families who've been shielded from environmental hazards and the neighborhoods that have thrived because they've had a say. With these changes being proposed in relationships to SB 929 and Chapter 51A, we risk sidelining these voices, potentially diminishing Dallas' intentionality to be a more inclusive city. In essence, our city's vitality hinges on its people. Let's value our voices. Let's value their voices by preserving the right to file for amortization. Again, I think I'm just echoing what many of our neighbors have so far brought to you, and also what many of the board members are asking and inquiring about. It's just, I just don't understand why we're considering language that's not even explicitly placed on the Senate bill. So please consider our requests and understand that we want Dallas to be a better city. But by taking away our right to participate in the process, to be able to build better community, a better neighbor, and to have safe neighborhoods, you are taking that right from us. Thank you for your time for listening. Thank you for listening.
James Perkins.
Hello, my name is James Perkins. I have the pleasure of working alongside the most beautiful communities in Dallas. These communities are filled with timeless traditions, delicious foods, and lots of spirit. Unfortunately, these communities are also filled with lots of pollution and a deep, deep sense of frustration with how the city has turned their back on them time and time again, which is what is going on here again today. I am profoundly disturbed by the city wanting to pass this code change that will strip these citizens who are facing the worst effects of pollution from their right to have self-determination in their neighborhoods, to decide what happens and what doesn't happen in their neighborhoods, as they should have. This morning, I was speaking to a resident of West Dallas, Mr. Rodriguez, who was telling me how ridiculous this is even a thing that is being proposed, how he and his neighbors and the people that live in West Dallas should have the right to determine what goes on in their neighborhoods, not the city, not council members, not city staff, not people who are unconcerned with their well-being, who have shown time and time again that they don't care at all. By passing this code change, the city is damning these residents to a life filled with health complications, filled with breathing in pollution, and that is simply unjust and unfair and a grave concern. I also want to note that the city will make up any excuse to pass this and say red herrings and whatnot, but I want to note that the real reason going on, the real reason that this is happening is due to corporate greed and pettiness and malice and years and years and years of environmental injustices and environmental racism that the city is unconcerned about and is frankly supporting with even the passing of this code change. So I just want to say that it's a absolute shame that this is even being discussed. Anyone who supports this code change should go into these communities in South Dallas, in Joppy, in West Dallas that have industry lined up to their fence line and talk to those residents. and see in their eyes the disgust that they have for having to live beside these terrible polluting plants that are causing them such health detriments. They should talk to these residents and tell them that they're deciding to cut their lives short by supporting this ordinance. It's an absolute shame.
Buenos días, mi nombre es José Rodríguez. Yo tengo viviendo en West Dallas 22 años y el problema que siempre hemos tenido es de la compañía que tenemos de gas. Ahora en este tiempo ha estado llegando mucha comunidad más a nuestra comunidad, mucha gente, hay muchos apartamentos nuevos, tenemos más tráfico, tenemos el problema de la contaminación. Yo pienso que deberemos de dejar que la comunidad decida por sí misma lo que nos perjudica, a la comunidad, la compañía. Y es todo lo que puedo decir. Gracias.
Thank you. Sure, go ahead.
I'll be translating for Mr. Jose Rodriguez. So he started with, good morning. He's been living 22 years in the West Dallas area. There's always been a problem with GAF, the company that's there. There's a lot more apartments, there's a lot more traffic, and there's a lot of issues with air pollution. And he pretty much said, like, let the community decide for themselves and let them figure out what they need. And it's pretty much all I can say.
She's online. Ms. Jackson, are you able to unmute yourself? I think I see you. It's not working. We can move on to other speakers maybe, and if you want to try leaving and returning, I'll add you as a panelist whenever you return, and maybe it'll work the second try.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kendrick. I live in Joppa, District 7, 4741 Joppa Circle. And I'm here to oppose this amendment to the code. And I just want to say that it is absolutely disgraceful that myself and mothers like her have to continuously come up to Dallas, the City of Hall, and petition their humanity for these governing bodies, petition their humanity to their elected officials, who are their employers. We employ the City of Dallas. Our tax dollars pay our elected officials. It is absolutely disgraceful that we continuously have to come up here and say, hey, what you're doing in these chambers, in these rooms, these robust conversations that you're having in these council chambers are affecting us. They're hurting us. It's absolutely disgraceful that we have to continuously come up here and say, hey, changing this code is a violation to our civil rights to breathe clean air in our communities. It's absolutely disgraceful that we have to continuously come up here and say, our children are sick because of the things that you continuously allow in our neighborhoods. How many times do we have to continuously come up here and say, this is racist? Or do we have to continuously say, this is environmental apartheid on Black and brown families in the city of Dallas who employ you? How many times do we have to continuously say, this is wrong? This is overburdening our communities. Our communities deserve to thrive. And this is not a conversation that they're having in Plano City Hall. This is not a conversation that they're having in Garland. These are not conversations that they're having in Richardson. These are only conversations that the city of Dallas is allowing us to have because they refuse to stand next to us and fight for us when they have the power to change these laws, to change these policies, to oppose these amendments that directly affect us. It is absolutely disgraceful that we have to continuously come up here, look you guys in the eyes and say, this hurts us. It's bad. It hurts. We're sick. It's absolutely disgraceful that we have to continuously come up here and speak for those that have died in our communities, our parents, our families that are continuously sick and dying in our communities because y'all refuse to unburden us with environmental inequity. I won't be here long. That's all I wanted really to say. I just want to say that if you approve this amendment, you will be going against direct resident opposition, direct research against this amendment, and you would be siding with racial inequity, and you would be continuing a status quo of racial injustice in your city, in the city that you're employed in. And I really want you to reconsider approving this amendment. Thank you.
Are we able to get Ms. Jackson on? Ms. Jackson, can you unmute
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, can we see you? We can't see you. Can you? Oh, there you go, Ms. Jackson.
Good morning. I'm Marsha Jackson. My address is 4920 Schultz Road, Dallas, Texas, 75241. And I am here to strongly speak against the opposition of the proposed code change. As you guys know, that we have gone through several instances here in the city of Dallas because of environmental injustice. And as you continue to hear me speaking, because I've been affected about some of these issues that we're here to speak. Who else better can speak what we need and what we want in our community besides the residents? And so now this proposal is strictly trying to take that away from us. If you guys might have to listen to us maybe back 4 years ago when Shingle Mountain came here, you can understand why we're fighting so hard now. As you hear me speaking now, you hear me speaking because of these kind of effects that happen to me, because of I'm permanent damage, because of some of these things happen, because of my vocal cords. So this is the opportunity now to listen to the residents, what we have, even after amortization, go through the process, listen to the voice from the community, listen to the residents, because we fight so hard and I continue fighting so hard now that I don't want any other communities to go through what I'm going through. 65 years old, permanent damage because of something that might could have been changed before if only the voice had been listened to from the residents before. So I'm here right now and strongly opposing this new proposed code change to listen to the residents, move things forward because the bill has not been set forth yet. And this is the opportunity for the city of Dallas to kind of straighten out some of these issues that we have. This is the opportunity for the residents to speak and discuss with the city of Dallas what we want and what we don't, to continue harming our community. The Black, Brown, Indigenous, and poor white communities are mostly harmed where others don't see that. So I'm strictly asking you guys to oppose this proposed change. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other?
Maybe we read through the ones that signed up but that didn't come, and then we ask for if anybody is present and didn't with any of them.
Okay, let's see. Do we have Norma? There is Ronnie Mastis, Mystique O'Quinn, Colin Yarborough, Kamisha Richardson, Jonathan Maples. Do we have any of those online?
I also had a Caleb Roberts, unless we spoke and I missed it. Okay.
Caleb Roberts, do we have? Was Caleb online? Okay, is there anybody whose name we did not call who's in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay. I guess that was my 3 minutes. Okay, so if you will come on up and start with your name and your address, and if you will also fill out one of those yellow cards, I appreciate that. Again, you'll have 3 minutes. My name is Valerie Fletch. I live at 3883.
Yeah, better. Valerie Flesh, 3883 Turtle Creek Boulevard, Dallas, Texas. I am a hospice nurse. I see the people that suffer from this kind of pollution. I wish you could see how bad it is when they come to me and I can't give them enough medication to stop their fear and to stop their pain. And I'm tired of it. If something can be done, let's do it. And don't stop these people from having a voice. They deserve that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Wendy Hammond. I'm a staff attorney with the Legal Aid of Northwest Texas Community Revitalization Project located at 400 South Zang in Dallas, Texas. On behalf of our client, West Dallas 1, we respectfully ask for clarification regarding the city's proposed code amendments to bring Chapter 51A into compliance with the Texas Local Government Code after the state's adoption of Senate Bill 929. We understand that Senate Bill 929 implements particular requirements that must be followed if the governing body or board, commission, department, or official of a municipality requires, by ordinance or otherwise, or receives an application or request to require a person to stop non-conforming use of the property due to its non-conformity within the property's current zoning. Today, the ZOAC is considering a proposed ordinance language that would eliminate the current ordinance language that states any person who resides or owns real property in the city may request that the board consider establishing a compliant state for non-conforming use. Since SB 929 includes the phrase receives an application or request, we seek clarification from the city of Dallas as to why the city is proposing ordinance language that appears to eliminate a current legal right of its residents and property owners to address severe and ongoing problems with nonconforming uses, especially when these nonconforming uses cause problems with historically impact mostly low-income minorities and results in the city of Dallas failing to timely achieve its environmental justice goals. Additionally, it is safe to assume the city attorney's office is familiar with the basic legal canon of statutory interpretation used by the courts, that the courts assume the legislature writes its bills with full knowledge of other existing statutes, like eminent domain. Therefore, West Dallas 1 also seeks clarification as to why the Dallas City Attorney's Office is interpreting SB 929 to be essentially an eminent domain process when the legislature clearly did not. We thank you for your time and assistance and look forward to a prompt reply.
Okay, thank you. Ms. May, I have some, I think after we discuss this, that there are some things that we need, that I see we need, we have outstanding questions. I see that I see that there are outstanding questions, looking for clarification or okay. Here's what one of the things I see that we have questions on, where we asked for a process that will allow it to go through CPC, allow the residents to have a say in calling for the process to begin. And to learn what other cities have done with SB 929. Did anybody else see any other questions that were Mr. McGregor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope that the City Attorney's Office took copious notes because there were plenty of questions raised by the public that really deserve an immediate answer, specifically on the items in the ordinance that, on the city prepared ordinance that do not directly relate to Senate Bill 929. If City Attorney's Office could respond to that today for the benefit of the public, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. McGregor.
As already stated, the one item that's in there that's not in the bill is removal of the ability for residents to make the application. The ZOAC's asking for is to look at a process to either let residents somehow be involved in that request and to allow CPC to authorize it. And again, the reason that that was removed from the proposed code amendment is because it puts taxpayer money at significant risk. So if Board of Adjustment makes a finding that a non-conforming use needs to go away, that would require the city to essentially pay them off to leave. They would have the option of either saying we will continue operations until that number that you calculated runs out, or you can write us a check and we'll go away in 10 days.
But specifically, actually, I think I'll stop there. I do have a second question, if I may, Madam Chair, also for City Attorney's Office.
Please go ahead.
So, Member Reeves raised the question of lack of language for valuation in both the ordinance and the Senate bill. That really lends itself to significant abuse. If we're going to require a value or sort of valuation, and the only language that is really discernible is in the Senate bill that talks about the price at which a property would be sold before and after the rezoning. That's an impossible requirement to achieve because it assumes that you resell the property twice for the sole purpose of getting valuation. So if we were to go forward with any portion of this ordinance, and I'd like to underscore the word if, would it be possible for the city ordinance to be a little bit more specific on what is entailed in the valuation?
Yeah, we can look into see if there's a way that we could flesh that out a little bit more for you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else has any additional questions?
I do.
Mr. Barrett, we haven't heard from you today.
Yeah, it's the first meeting. Just happy to be here. I did want to just, I thought it was a really relevant point that, so we have two options. If I read the SB 929 correctly, so you, like you said, pay them off, but there's also the option of the continue the non-conforming use, which seems like a no monetary cost option to the city. It's kind of what we do now a little bit with the amortization process, which is supposed to be recovering your cost. So I'm not seeing why what's the concern if we have this option of a no cost option to the city of allowing
it's not, yeah, the choice remedy isn't the city's option, it's the property owners. So I'm gonna read from the bill here. Subsection F, the owner or lessee of property that's subject to a requirement to stop a non-conforming use of the property under this section shall not later than the 30th day after the date the municipality gives notice required under subsection E respond in writing to the municipality indicating the remedy under subsection D chosen by the owner or lessee. And those remedies under subsection D are to either continue operation until you recoup that investment or to say, city, give me a check.
So it's it's their election. It's not the city's option.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's not good. That kind of puts us in a corner there.
Any other questions?
I do have one more if I might.
Go ahead.
I'm not exactly sure how to ask this, but this is again for City Attorney's Office. Given the uniform opposition that we've heard around this ordinance and the concerns about the Bill 929, what can you lay out for me exactly what happens if the city chooses not to change our ordinance and let Bill 929 be what it may, but we simply don't respond to it by changing our ordinance or significant parts of it?
We would essentially lose the ability to terminate a non-conforming use through the Board of Adjustment process. So the amortization process that's been in place for decades, SB 929 did away with that. That was all based on case law, and the statute essentially preempted all of that.
But we're not getting rid of the ordinance entirely. We're just not editing it to comply with some portions of 929, and certainly not to comply with the other portions that are not included in 929.
Correct. Yeah, this is amending the current code to comply with SB 929.
Right. So your answer is for not for basically not editing it as it is now.
Correct. Yeah. If we leave the ordinance in place as it is now, the process that's in the code has been preempted by state law, so we can no longer use that. So we would essentially lose that ability.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions? All right, we have a motion.
Yes, I do.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Blair, and if I do, I have some comments. In the matter of development code amendment, what's our number here? Thank you. DCA 223008, I move that we hold this matter under advisement and keep our public hearing open until November 14th, 2023.
Do I have a second? Is that, you seconded, Mr. McGregor?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in a favor?
I have a can I make a comment or? Okay. Sure. I went back and I read the legislative history of SB 929, and one of the things that I observed was that the city, in fact, submitted a statement or appeared in opposition to the bill, and actually several of our state representatives from the Dallas area voted against this bill. I understand that SB 929 did pass, and we are charged with implementing it since it is state law. But at the same time, I think we should be extremely careful and thoughtful before we do anything that goes beyond the express dictates of Senate Bill 929. And in particular, I'm talking about removing the ability of residents of Dallas to begin the compliance process for a non-conforming use. I understand the city attorney's analogy of the new compliance process under 929 to eminent domain, but frankly, I just don't see it that way. I see it as existing on a spectrum. It's certainly a change from what there was in the past, but we are not all the way into the world of eminent domain. And with that said, I would hope that we can, pursuant to the instructions of ZOAC members, come up with language that preserves residents' ability to kick off the compliance process, recognizing that this does, bring public funds into the equation, which is meaningful, but still allows residents to do step one. Because I think it's, the compliance process, I guess we'd previously call it amortization, is incredibly important in achieving the city's goals. I've worked along with the Comprehensive Land Use Committee for the past, I guess, almost year and a half, if not longer, on Forward Dallas. And one of our key goals is environmental justice. And this compliance process, while it's not a panacea for all of our issues relating to land use, incompatibilities with industrial, abutting, being in close proximity to residential, it is an important tool in our toolkit, and I think it does belong in an appropriate way in the hands of the residents of the city of Dallas. So I really do look forward to seeing updated language from the city's attorney's office that addresses the many valid concerns that both members of the committee and the public have raised today. Thank you.
I also, I've been quiet today, and that's unlike me. As a commissioner for District 8, which is the southern sector of the city, just as in the west area of Dallas, we have a lot of land use that this would be impacting. And one of the things that we always do is in every zoning matter I've ever had, one of the things that I've always had to do is go before the public and before I come before CPC or the process, and to have something that totally rewrites out the public's ability to speak, to me is contradictory to what I believe the city of Dallas has stood for and stands for. I would hope that when we see this again, that there is a way and there is a mechanism that allows the residents to, as we have always done, allow them to be a part of the process to continue. I cannot speak as eloquently as my co-chair here today as an attorney, because that's not my title. I'm a resident. I'm a resident in one of the largest districts and a resident in one of the districts that this impacts immensely. I put up with District 7 when it comes down to environmentally challenging, non-conforming businesses. And for me to have to go back to Miss Jackson or any other of the members of my district and say I had a part in this without speaking up and saying, I think that there should be a way, and there is a way, that the residents can continue to have a voice when there's environmentally unsound developments that butt up against them in the residential arena. I think that I would not be able to show my face in District 8. So I am going to encourage staff to relook at this and look at a process that is inclusive and not exclusive. And when we see this again on November the 14th, that we will be able to not only see what some of the other cities that have implemented this are doing, but look at processes that includes the majority of the people and not of the minority. Thank you. With that being said, all in favor? Oh, wait a minute.
More discussion.
Yeah, Enrique, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. You guys gonna have to speak up.
I was a little slow. I was slow in raising my hand. Thank you, Madam Chair. There are a couple of things I want to say. First of all, I really want to thank the individuals who spoke, both for themselves as residents and on behalf of organizations. And I just want to reiterate something that I think this particular group already knows, that so it's also for the benefit of the broader public. Your voice does matter, and you do help us make the right decisions. And I know those decisions at the city level sometimes take years, but thank you for your persistence. Thank you for showing up. And just want to say that I really appreciate you. Second thing is, this whole state bill and ordinance, they stink. They stink of backroom dealing, and they stink of favoritism. And I think that I'm glad that we caught this at this level, and that the system does work in that sense. I will ask city staff in their revision of the bill to please footnote. Well, let me explain it this way. I don't want to see anything in the changes of the ordinance, and I won't support anything that isn't directly responding to 929. So I will ask staff for every edit to footnote which line of 929 are they addressing with their edit. If anything else, if it has to do with taxes, if it has to do with cost, we can have a different discussion about that. I would go back to the residents of that part of the city and ask them whether they pay taxes or not. I know the answer, they do. So their taxes are as important as the other taxes that the concerns that city attorney's office raised. And that's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else? No, with that being said, do we have all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Thank you. I think that the matter will be returned to us November the 14th. Thank you. And the next item up for discussion is the minutes from, when was the last meeting? No, September 19th? Yes, September 19th. You were on okay. And the minutes from September 19th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Still have a second? Second, it's been moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Any in opposition? They have been accepted. Thank you. With that being said, there is no other item to be voted on today. I move that at 10:59 that the meeting of the ZOAC committee is closed.
Thank you.